Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to draw three-dimensional forms and adding value with it. So what I'm going to do is I will start with a cube. So we learned how to draw a cube before. So I'm going to start off with a square. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my diagonal lines coming from the corner. So I'm going to draw one there, and notice how they're parallel. That means if they went on for infinity, those two lines would never touch. And I'm also going to draw one right there. So that one's parallel to that one too. So now I'm going to connect those corners like that. And now I'm going to draw my horizon line. So this box could be sitting on the table or on the floor, but it looks like it's sitting on something. Now I'm going to decide where my light is coming from. If I know where the light is coming from, then I know where the shadows will be. So if my light is shining from this area, I'll draw some lines showing that it's light, and then I would know that if the light's hitting it right here, then that means the shadow is on the opposite side. The shadow should be cast over here. So I'm going to leave this top part white, and this is going to be the darkest side of my cube because the light is not touching that side. So I'm going to use value, so knowing how hard to press down with my pencil, doing those value scales is important, because that way I know my pencil and I know how much pressure it takes to make those areas darker. Color that in. Now this side, this face of the cube, this one won't be as dark as over here because I know some of the light is coming onto it. So, because it's not on the opposite side of the cube. So I'm going to use that information that I know from doing my value scale and lighten up my pencil pressure for this side of the cube. And you could use your different value scale techniques if you want. If you want to do a cross-hatching technique or the scribbly line techniques to add your value, or if you want to invent your own way of adding value, that's fine too. So now the light is hitting the cube right on top here, but there will still be just a little bit of shadow on the top, but just not where that light is specifically hitting it. Now I need a cast shadow. So think of Peter Pan and his shadow when he's losing his shadow. That's his cast shadow that he's trying to catch. So now I'm going to have to make a cast shadow for my cube. So I'm going to press hard on my pencil, and I'm going to draw the shadow coming off of the cube. It's going to be the darkest right where the cube is meeting the surface that it's sitting on. And I want you to observe the cast shadow. I don't have any really straight lines boxing in where that shadow is. Shadows don't really have lines that they stay in most of the time. It depends on where the light's coming from. But I'm just going to create that cast shadow right there. And then it looks like it's a cube sitting on a table, on a floor, somewhere. So that's going to make it look realistic and three-dimensional. Now I'm going to do the same thing but with a sphere. So without value, it just looks like a what? A circle, right? So if this is maybe a basketball or an apple or anything that is a sphere sitting next to the cube, I need to add value or else it doesn't look realistic, does it? Especially compared to the cube. So I'm going to, so if my light's still coming from this direction, I will have a light shining right here, and then I'll have a shadow over here just like the way the cube was. So I'm going to start by just adding a little bit of shadow. And this is what's going to make it look three-dimensional. This is what's going to change it from a circle into a sphere. I'm going to make sure that this part on this side of the sphere is really dark, because I know that's where it's the darkest because that's the opposite side of where the light is hitting it. And just like with my value scale, I might squint my eyes at it and see if I'm gradually getting it lighter and darker. So with a sphere, you want smooth transitions of your value. You don't want any blocked out areas where it's all shadow and then it's just a highlight. The secret to drawing a sphere is making sure that you just gradually, little by little, get lighter once you get towards your highlight. It's really amazing how just changing your pencil pressure can transform your shape into something three-dimensional and looking like you could touch it in real life. And then I would have my cast shadow. So remember, it's the darkest closest to the object. And then I'm going to pay attention to the shape of my shadow, because something that's a sphere is going to start off thin at the bottom and then get wider and then smaller. And again, I'm gradually lightening up my pencil pressure because I know the shadow is going to be darkest when it's closest to the object. Just going to put some finishing touches on here. So if you wanted to make an apple out of this, you could draw just a curved line for the stem, or where the stem goes into. You could even erase a little bit so that you see a highlight on that side too, where at the top of where the stem is at. So there you have it.